Welcome to War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast, coming to you every week from deep within the Outer Rim, far beyond the watchful ice of the Galactic Empire. Join your hosts, John Mark Tolley, Garrett K. Jones, and Brian Karasik, as they discuss the various facets of the saga's lore, characters, review the films, and discuss every tidbit of news coming out of Lucasfilm. And remember, this isn't just my Star Wars, this isn't just your Star Wars, this is our Star Wars. Yes, indeed. Welcome once again to another fun-filled episode of War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. As you can see, if you're watching us on YouTube, we are once again sans one Mr. Karasik. He is having once again technical difficulties. I'm sure it's going to be something when he comes back about rebel spies and rebel saboteurs, But no, in all seriousness, no, he is having computer issues. And hopefully he will be joining us next week. But in the meantime, we're going to hold the fort down here and hope we don't blow everything up.
Yep. This is like our third or fourth episode in a row where he has not been able to join us. And so we're going to take the next month off to make him host by him. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. No, that would just be a jerk move.
We're not that cruel. We are not that cruel.
No, we are not.
No. Before we get started, I want to give a quick shout out to David and Alora from What Does Star Wars Mean to You podcast. I recently was a guest on there, and it was honestly probably one of the most fun I've had talking Star Wars other than on this show. Since I can't remember. They were super welcoming, super professional, made it super very, very easy to talk to. The show will be going out on all podcast networks on September 30th. I think that's when he said that the show would drop, which just shows you how professional they are. They do these things a month out before they actually put them up. But check it out. We had a lot of fun talking about what Star Wars means to me. So if you want to know what Star Wars means to me, if you haven't already figured it out by watching and listening to this show, check that show out. We had a really, really interesting and great conversation about Star Wars and state of Star Wars today. So, yes.
Yeah. That's really cool that you had that kind of experience, and hopefully we'll be able to bring them back on to join.
Yes,
they
have an open invite. David and Lori, if you're listening, you guys have an open invite. As I said, have my people talk to your people. Like I have people.
Yeah. So for me, I had a really interesting weekend. I was in Madera, California for the Heart of California Book Fair. It's put on by the Friends of the Madera County Library in Central California, it's about an hour from north of where I live. So like I'm just below Fresno. So I passed through Fresno, and within 15 minutes after I passed through Fresno, I'm in Madera. And it was a nice, hot, humid day. Like it was like maybe 102, 103 with like 40% humidity. We actually got rain. It was really crazy. But it was great. Like I got to connect and meet up with some new authors that I hadn't met before. Many of them whom are in my local area. And then I was able to sell like 5 or 6 books plus a couple of the commemorative candles for the 10th anniversary of my first book. So that was a lot of fun. Oh, and I was on a discussion panel for fantasy and sci-fi authors. So that was neat.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it was great fun. Although none of the questions that were asked were like genre specific. So I was a little bit bummed by that, but it is what it is.
All right. Well, what are we talking about today?
Today we are jumping in. We are talking about capital ships. These aren't lowercase ships. These are the uppercase ship. No, I'm kidding. That's a little bit of humor there for you, because now capital ships, those are the big ones, like the frigates and the battleships and and the
The
dreadnought
cruisers. Yeah.
and the huge
Yes.
battle cruisers. And I'm looking forward to this because we got some favorites.
I think we all do. I think we all do. I mean, should we kind of talk? We just want to go in general and go list some of them, or do we want to kind of do what we did last time and kind of list some of our favorites and the ones that
I think listing some of our favorites would probably be the best way. But let's be honest. Everyone's first experience. I mean, at least anybody who grew up with only the original trilogy. Our first encounter with a capital ship is the blockade runner being chased down by the Star Destroyer, and that is that whole sequence, that whole opening thing, just catches you by surprise because all of a sudden, you've got the stars in the background of the opening crawl, and then it lowers and drops down. You see the planet of Tatooine there in the background, and all of a sudden that Corvette just comes flying through, and then it's being chased and blasted out by the Star Destroyer. And you're just like, whoa.
Yes.
It just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, and you immediately get the size differential between this two. Like you see the Corvette, which is a good size ship in itself. I mean, it has, it's not huge, but then you compare it to that Star Destroyer, that Imperial Star Destroyer, and it's just, I mean, holy cow, that thing, it would just look so massive. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Imperial class Star Destroyer is definitely, I mean, really up there. Probably, one of my favorite capital ships.
Oh yeah. I mean, this whole sequence, I'm pulling it up on the screen right now, is, gosh, it was such a, here we go.
It's an iconic movement.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely iconic. I mean, you get the scale of, actually, I think this shot is a little bit better, only for the sheer fact that you can actually see
what's
it
funny in that scene, when you see it like that, you're like, oh yeah, it's bigger, but it's not that much. But then when it zooms in and you see it, like, just how much bigger it actually is.
And then here's this shot, as the blockade runner is right here, and then you've got the very bow of the Star Destroyer coming into frame, and I mean, yeah, there's a bit of distance, but man, it's gargantuan comparatively.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
absolutely mammoth. And that's not even saying anything about some of the larger ships that we encounter later on in the franchise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Super Star Destroyer, the Executor. Just massive. One ship that was always kind of a favorite of mine. It's a smaller capital ship, and for the longest time, it was only in Legends until the show Rebels, actually made it canon. And that was the I almost said the Nebulan B, but that was not the one with the interdictor cruiser.
Oh yeah,
I love the concept of it. The idea of being able to pull ships out of hyperspace and being able to use that gravity well, and it was just this cool concept.
Well, it had the gravity generators, man.
Yeah, it had,
it's so terrifying.
Yeah, and I loved how Thrawn used it to, with his tactics to, to entrap rebel.
Uh-oh. John, Mark, are you there? You froze up. Mark? Hello?
Oh, there we are.
Okay.
Sorry.
For a moment there, I thought you got hit with some carbonite gas.
I thought the same thing. I had the ring of
death.
I had the ring of death. Maybe we're going way too many Imperial secrets.
Maybe. And maybe we're being hacked by Brian, who doesn't want all the Imperial and Sith secrets released.
Maybe. But yeah, so we've talked about the Imperial Star Destroyer. We've talked about the interdictor cruiser. What about you? What's
So, I mean, obviously the Executor, which we see in Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back, those are that one is massive, because like you think of the scale of a Star Destroyer, and that one is even larger. And what's funny is, like, when you a few weeks ago when we talked about Spaceballs, I was just rewatching that movie with my cousin, who has never seen a Mel Brooks movie in her life, because she's 14. But we were watching this movie, and like we were both cracking up about how large Spaceballs 1 is.
Yeah.
And you go through and you like the joke where Mel Brooks is trying to run from one end of the ship to the next. He's like, if I walk, the movie will be over. And it's like, that's the Executor. It's like Star Destroyers are small in comparison. Like the regular standard Star Destroyer is to the Executor what the Blockade Runner is to the Star Destroyer. And
exactly.
I mean, they're just dwarf. But one of my favorites, I'm gonna throw it up on the screen here. And I didn't hear about this until I got a hold of my copy of the Star Wars Essential Guide to Vehicles and Vessels, which is fun because your interdictor cruiser is right here on the front cover. What I really liked was the Eclipse class dreadnought.
Oh yes,
this thing,
I remember.
They had it painted black, so you come out of hyperspace and it's right there, and you can't see them. I mean, you might be able to see the lights glowing if you get close enough, but those lights are gonna fade. Like they're gonna look like stars in the background.
Wow!
And, the fact that it's got all these lights down here along the bow, I'm just like, whoa! Like every deck was filled with people.
So I looked this up, and this size comparison from Imperials to Super Star Destroyer. So the Devastator, which was Vader's flagship in A New Hope, is 1,600 meters. The Super Star Destroyer, the Executor, is 19,000 meters.
Oh my god!
That is the size comparison between between a regular Star Destroyer and a Super Star Destroyer, and I haven't even looked to what the Eclipse is.
The Executor is 11.8 miles long. Like, that's a city. That is a city. That is insane. It's so crazy. So, like I'm also a big fan because I'm looking things up here, and unfortunately, a lot of the ships that are listed in this book are no longer considered canon, with a few exceptions. However, I will say,
here's something. The Eclipse was actually slightly shorter than the Executor.
Whoa.
But it made up for it in firepower and the fact that it had a super laser on it.
So in the Thrawn trilogy, specifically the second book by Timothy Zahn, Dark Force Rising.
Yeah.
Dark Force Rising had a double meaning. It dealt with some of the issues popping up with Joruus C'baoth, but it also was talking specifically about a fleet of dreadnoughts that the Imperial remnant under Thrawn's control was trying to get their hands on, and this is what they look like.
Yes.
And these things are huge. Like looking at the stats here, the Dreadnought's sublight speed barely matched that of the Victory Star Destroyer. The hyperdrive had a slow Class 2 rating, and the hull and shields were weak for a ship of its size. Refitted Dreadnought still required a crew of 16,000 soldiers. Yeah, and I'm trying to look for this, like the physical stats. It's not really given much of that, but like these are large, they're ancient, they went missing somewhere in the galaxy, and they were being sought and refitted over the years for service to the Empire and the Rebel Alliance.
Wow.
So, yeah, Katana Fleet in particular was the fleet that Thrawn was looking for.
Yeah.
So, what are some other capital ships that stand out that you really like?
Venator class from the Clone Wars.
Yeah, the Venator class was definitely a very interesting. Like you could see the proto early designs for what became the Star Destroyer later on.
Yeah, that and we don't see it very often, but we have seen it. Is the basically what it would be the predecessor to the Imperial class, which is the Victory class Star Destroyer.
Yeah. Let me see here. One of the because I'm looking here at some of the other battle cruisers, like we get the Praetor 2 class battle cruiser, which is very much very similar in design to the Star Destroyers. We have the Venator, we have the Imperial class, but then we get heavy cruisers like
Imperial
the
1 and 2. Yeah. Yeah, the Acclamator class, the Victory class.
Yeah, and then we have but then we get to like the frigates and the other cruisers.
Well, I mean, the Nebulan B. I mean, that's I mean, to me, that's one of the most iconic, frigates in Star Wars. We see it at the end of Empire the first time, the medical frigate, and then we see them again show up in Jedi, kind of looking almost like a yes, right there.
Now, how familiar were you with the Haypans in Star Wars lore?
They showed up in, if I remember correctly, Courtship of Princess Leia.
Their ships were really interesting in the way that they're described. They were called battle dragons, and they look like this. They almost look like a flying saucer type of design.
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cool because like the way it's done with the different arrays and everything, like this is definitely something that that would, go with non-linear space battles. But then you've got like the Hapes Nova class battle cruiser. This one right here, which looks very similar to something that you might see in Star Trek.
Hold on. I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
Oh, hold on.
Sorry. Oh yeah, it kind of does. I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's their standard battle cruiser for the Haypans. But they looked so like, I don't know. It's like they took a lot of thematic design out of Star Trek, especially from like the Klingons. But yeah. So like what's interesting though is like it feels like the capital ships in Star Wars are not used. Like the most action we see them get is like in Revenge of the Sith or in The Last Jedi. We do see a great amount of capital ship battles, like the ship-to-ship combat and stuff like that in Return of the Jedi, but like for the most part, it's sporadically used. Like we get more dogfighting and starfighting.
I think it's very
land battles than anything else.
I think very interesting, especially when you watch the Clone Wars of how the Republic used the Venator class, almost like we would use, like a modern Army and Navy would use an aircraft carrier.
Yeah,
stay in the back and let the fighters and bombers go out, and you use it like that, almost like troop carriers and fighter carriers, almost like I said, almost like an aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Whereas it seemed like the Imperial Star Destroyers were used more for either planetary bombardment or blockade, or more of like your typical dreadnought or destroyer would be used today, with the addition of having starfighter craft on board.
Yeah.
Which leads us to another craft that we've only mentioned Imperial craft. We haven't really mentioned much on the Imperial and Republic. We haven't mentioned much in the way of Rebels, but they have one of the more iconic capital ships. That would be the Mon Cal battle cruiser, the Mon Cal cruiser.
Pulling it up right now, my friend.
I mean,
sharing the screen in 3, 2, 1. This right here.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Mon Cal Cruisers, it's pretty iconic, especially for the Rebellion, because like it doesn't look like anything else that we've ever seen. Again, these are much like carriers, but they also had a destroyer function to them.
Well,
because
interesting,
because they're modular.
Yeah. Well, an interesting fact, as far as I know, I don't know if this has been made officially canon, but at least the story in Legends that these were initially designed as luxury liners.
Were they really?
And the old legend, these were basically the space equivalent of cruise ships. Initially, is what they were initially designed to be. But once the Mon Cal, because they are so modular and able to adapt and be refitted so easily, once the Mon Cals joined the rebellion, it was really easy to refit them for war, because they have a lot of, even though they're smaller and have less firepower than the Imperial Star Destroyer, they have a built-in redundancy system that makes it harder for them for other capital ships to really engage them and be effective.
Yeah, they definitely had more shielding capabilities.
Better shielding, more redundancy system. So if you knocked out one system, another one could pop up and take its place rather quickly. Again, they were easily to be modified for different aspects and different things. So yeah, just a very cool looking ship.
I will say that one of my, while I'm not a major fan of most of what's in the sequel trilogy, the First Order Dreadnought.
Yes.
That's not it. It's it's called the Mandator. This one right here.
Yeah.
Here we go. That's the better image.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That was I admit that looked so cool.
Supremacy. The Supremacy was just so cool. And let's see if I can get a better picture of it. That's not really working for me. First Order Supremacy. Like, it has that stealth bomber capability. Like, I mean, and just look at how much it dwarfs. I mean, the Star Destroyers that are flanking it. Like, that is a huge ship.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, it's so cool because it looks super imposing. It's intimidating. And I think it was a really fantastically cool design. Because it didn't look like anything else in the First Order or the Empire. But at the same time, like, when we're talking capital ships, though, we gotta, there's a bit of an elephant in the room in how ship to ship battle is taking place, because like The Last Jedi, and I have mentioned this before, we get the Holdo maneuver, and that is literally and physically taking a capital ship, specifically a frigate, into light speed while facing the supremacy. And it's probably by far one of my favorite sequences in the movie, in The Last Jedi, but it presents some major issues because it's like, why wasn't this a strategy to begin with? Because and I think Brian has kind of addressed this for us in the past, that there are like a lot of technology in Star Wars is ancient and it's being repurposed. No one's building new things. No, it's always being retrofitted or readapted or whatever, and reverse engineered, but with very little in the way of new technologies. And that happens in civilizations as well. But I mean, if you've got 1,000-year-old design, why change anything up?
Yeah.
But
Well, I think it also could be just the fact of, maybe you need, for that maneuver to be effective like that, you would need a ship that the size of that rebel cruiser. Like, you couldn't just attach a hyperdrive to a starfighter and aim it at a capital ship and expect the same effect. You need something.
Because you're moving something at the speed of light, regardless of the mass. You're moving it fast enough to create absolute havoc, and like that's kind of the thing, is that let's just put it into perspective. I mean, if you're floating out in space and you're caught in Earth's gravity well and you're just floating there waiting to collide with the atmosphere, if any particle of dust the size of, like, I don't know, a marble comes flying at you, it's going to pierce your spacesuit and you're going to die before you re-enter the atmosphere. I mean, and that's just moving at a few hundred miles per second. Now imagine you've got something the size of an X-wing fighter being targeted and aimed on remote with that capability of jumping to light speed at those coordinates. It completely changes space warfare.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, and this is something I've talked about before,
I could also to paraphrase one of my other favorite slightly sci-fi shows, Mystery Science Theater 3000. Maybe we should, if we wonder how he eats and sleeps and other science facts, maybe we should just remind ourselves it's just a show. We probably should just relax.
It's funny that you mentioned that. There's a book.
I mean, we're talking about a show of space wizards, so to me, I just look at something like that, of something like, it looks cool. I mean, yes, it doesn't make sense, but a lot of stuff in Star Wars doesn't make sense. I think I'd be more upset or more wondering if it was something that was to happen in, say, Star Trek, which is supposed to be more of a grounded sci-fi show.
Right, but even still, like the way that ship-to-ship combat in Star Trek and even Star Wars, mostly, but even Star Trek, is like, it's like everyone's lining up at the same level. I know that cinematically it looks better on TV, because otherwise, like, the Enterprise would be like this, the Klingon bird of prey would be like this, and they would never actually be facing each other. Because it up is whichever direction you decide it to be in space. But like, if like none of the warfare that happens in Star Wars makes sense, because it feels like it's very linear.
I think
from World War II.
And I don't know if any show is ever really any sci-fi show that takes place in space has ever showed realistic space combat. I think not Babylon 5, but I think Battlestar Galactica did okay in the fact of, whenever you would show that the fighters outside of the ship, there was no sound. Like, when it would show the outside, I did like that, because, well, there's no sound in space. Sound doesn't travel. but like nothing. No, I don't know if any shows ever really showed what realistic space combat would look like.
Yeah.
As far as like how that would work and how that would be set
Yeah.
up.
So something to consider, because we were talking about, exploring the science and the physics of it. There's a book I listened to on audio last year called "What If," and it's written by a former NASA physicist, literal rocket science, and he's got a website. He does these little cartoons, comic strips, and stuff like that. And he goes around answering real scientific questions. And one of the questions he got was, how much force power can Yoda output? And he ignores the prequels, but he crunches the numbers, he crunches the math. He basically, talks about like the mass and the size and the dimensions of the X-wing fighter, which is the equivalent of about 5,600 kilograms. Okay. And so then he crunches the numbers, and he says, I've underestimated the fandom. Wikipedia has just such a catalog and informs us that the surface gravity of Dagobah is 0.9 Gs. Combining this with the X-wing mass and lift rate gives us our peak output of 19.2 kilowatts. That's enough power to block. That's enough to power a block of suburban homes. It's also equal to about 25 horsepower, which is about the power of the motor in the electric model smart car. At current electricity prices, Yoda would be worth about $2 an hour. And he says, so Yoda sounds like our best bet as an energy source, but with world electricity consumption pushing 2 terawatts, it would take 100 million Yodas to meet our demands. All things considered, switching to Yoda power probably isn't worth the trouble, though it would definitely be green energy. For those of you who are watching, I will send the link for this in the video description, because it's a great book. This is a great description, and I think you guys will get a kick out of it. But
definitely
jumping back onto capital ships.
Yes.
Are there any capital ships? Because we've talked about the ones we like. Are there any capital ships you don't like?
I don't know if there is. I mean, I'll be honest. Even though I mentioned them as being iconic, I'm not a big fan of the Nebulan B.
Why not?
Just the design. It looks very weak. Like you hit that middle. You hit that little spine part up there, and you got an easy target right there. I mean, it's okay. I don't hate it, but it's definitely not my favorite. What about you?
With regards to the frigate, I kind of get where you're coming from, because it reminds me of a ship from another movie. If you've ever seen the movie Event Horizon, this is the title ship, the Event Horizon, and it has the drive section separated from the command section by this corridor, which can be used as a 0G corridor or a gravity fed corridor. And again, it's and having that corridor blow up is one of the plot points of the film, but it feels like a flawed weakness in the design. And I get the point. Maybe, it's good for like separating it in case there's issues with the drive, because it was an experimental drive. But at the same time, it's like, dude, have a more stable structure.
Speaking of weaknesses, and this is one thing that I think the Mon Cal Cruiser definitely had an advantage over the Imperial class Star Destroyer, is they put their shield generators right out there in the open for everyone to shoot at with the Star Destroyer. You got those two giant things right at the top that, and
whose idea was that? Seriously, while like all the compartmentalization and the redundancies are great, like
did Garrett Urso design did Garrett Urso design the Star Destroyer too? I mean,
right.
No, guys, this would be perfect. Look,
so many great ideas, and Galen Urso, our premier engineer, is working on everything. He's making everything better.
Yes. Oh,
is he though? Is he?
Oh man.
I think probably where I'm having issues with the capital ships is just simply the fact that we don't get enough of them.
Yeah.
Like they're used more for establishing shots in the films, or for settings, because they make for great settings. The problem is they're not used on a consistent enough basis for actual combat. I mean, we get a lot of that in the Clone Wars, obviously. You mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise they're not superimposing. They're not a threat other than, if it's following you or chasing you or trying to block your path, even though there's so many different directions in space that you can travel where they cannot get to you fast enough.
Where I think I found the scenes where the Star Destroyers look the most intimidating was when you see them in orbit.
Yeah,
like
especially
in Jeddah.
on Jeddah.
Oh, when that Star Destroyer comes down to the atmosphere and just hovers over the city, and you see that it is literally the size of the city, and just how just intimidating that would be, and just
like, I know you haven't played The Force Unleashed, but there is a sequence on Raxus Prime where it's the junkyard of the galaxy, and there is a sequence where the boss battle, and it's such a fun sequence. I'm gonna pull it up here on screen here, where Starkiller has to deal with a Star Destroyer, and he rips it out of the sky.
Yeah.
And the cutscene behind it is so amazing, the way it's handled. But he pulls it down, he crashes it into the planet, and like, it is just brutal.
Yeah.
So like, it's definitely worth checking out.
Definitely. What else do we got? Do we have anything?
I don't know. Like, I mean, I tried to brush up on this topic as much as I possibly can, and I really couldn't come up with anything, because, like, I mean, most of the capital ships is like, it's either Star Destroyers or it's not Star Destroyers.
Right.
And as iconic as the non-Star Destroyers are, like, it's just, we don't see enough of them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, we don't,
as far as
like, even the Naboo, the Naboo don't even use capital ships. Their best capital ship was Queen Amidala's personal craft.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even talk about we haven't even hit on the Separatist capital ships. I don't even know what those are. I mean, we see
those are droid control ships. I mean,
we see
dreadnoughts.
We see the giant droid ship in droid controller in Phantom Menace. And then we see that giant battle at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
Between the two.
I mean, there's the Munificent class star frigate that was used by a couple of different here, let me pull it up and I'll bring it up on screen. Here we go. So we've got the Confederacy of Independent Systems. This is the droid control ships, which ironically enough, that little ball in the center was actually a detachable landing craft.
Oh.
You had various versions of these dreadnoughts. This one right here was one of Grievous's ships. This is the one that had the special like ion cannon that shot from the side and destroyed everything. But then this was the Providence class, I believe, is the version that we see him in at the end of, or at the beginning of, it's either that one or the Dreadnought here that at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith, which gets crashed by and crash landed by Anakin Skywalker.
No, it was another perfect landing.
Another happy landing.
Another happy landing. That's right, happy. And I mean, I think that's interesting because I think as far as like, other than in Jedi, where you do see some ship to ship combat, that is really the first time in Star Wars where you see like the two ships lining next to each other and firing across each other, almost like your old style, wooden warships where you'd see that where the two ships would come side by side and just hammer each other, and
But then, like, you go through Wikipedia and you get some interesting stuff. Like the Valor class cruiser right here is pretty amazing looking, and then you got this one right here, the Terminus class destroyer. What the heck?
Whoa!
Look at that thing. That is gorgeous.
That is. Oh,
it looks like something from Mass Effect.
It does. Then I see it right next to it. I see the Hammerhead.
Yep. Which we see that being used in Rogue One.
Yes, to great effect too.
Yes, very great effect. This one was an interesting version because this is kind of this is an Old Republic era ship, precursor to the Venator and the Imperial class Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
But look at the way that this is designed, where you've got the hangar bays in the middle, protected by the prow, instead of having it banked on the sides. Well, you do have hangar bays on the sides, but I think those are more for shuttle pods and anything else.
But it does look, I can see, because you have a lot of the same thing in the Venator. If you watch, especially during the Clone Wars, that's where the Venator class bays were. They were in the middle like that.
Right, but the Venator class opened up and they all flew out through the top.
Mm-hmm.
This one's kind of cool. This one reminds me. This is from a Star Wars roleplay game. This is a Mandalorian RSD capital ship, but if you look at it, this kind of almost reminds me of the Sulaco from Aliens. Like, have you seen that one?
I don't know if I have.
Well, I'll show you. Images. Boom. And this tab. See that? That's the Sulaco.
Okay.
And that is the Mandalorian capital ship. The very similar in the design. They both look like big guns.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense for Mandalorians to make a ship that looked like a big gun.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, I wish we had seen more of this stuff, because I think it would have been way cooler. It would have given us a lot more range to work with. Because most of what you and I are coming at is whatever we've seen in current canon, plus whatever we've read about prior to Disney buying out Star Wars and revamping everything.
Yeah. I think it's because as we love the ships and we love, the craft, I don't know if that's, always, that's never been the focus for Star Wars. It's always been the interpersonal relation, and the overall story, and the ships are just a plot part of the plot in that story.
And it would have been nicer to see, because the thing I liked about one of the things I like about science fiction is that you can make the ship as much a character. The Millennium Falcon is as much of a character in Star Wars as Han Solo and Chewbacca, because it's integral to their characters, and they are integral to it as a ship. Same with the Executor and Vader. But very few other ships throughout Star Wars are as integral to they don't feel like characters.
I think you just put it there. You can tell how integral a ship is going to be to the story if it is named. If you hear the name of the ship, then you could, especially at the beginning of the movie, then you know that you probably have an idea that that ship is going to be important and be just as much integral as any other characters.
That's true.
The Millennium Falcon, the Ghost, the Executor. These are ships that are named and they become very important to the story.
Yeah, and that's true, and I get that, but like one of the things, like I've mentioned before, my love for Firefly on the show, and the thing I've appreciated about that, despite the flack that its creator Joss Whedon has received over the last couple of years, the thing I've always appreciated about that show is that the Serenity, which is a Firefly class transport ship, always felt like a character on the show. Like it had so much personality worked into the set design, from the characters' the way that they stylize their bunks and their personal spaces, to the way that the various sections of the ship looked. Like the kitchen and dining area is very homey. It's got a wooden table with benches and chairs, and there's a very warm color scheme there, and it's like it feels like there's a personality to every part of the ship. I mean, aside from the ships that have a name like the Falcon or the Executor, very few ships in Star Wars have that personability to them, and I think that's where things are kind of missing, because we get the rivalry in Solo between Han and Lando about the Falcon, but like it's weird, Lando doesn't feel all that like connected. Like he doesn't seem to love the ship as much as it was described in the books. Like he's annoyed that he has to give over the keys to his ship, but how is that his favorite ship? He allowed it to get impounded. While for him it was almost like just another pleasure yacht for him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like it just people are very peculiar about, like, especially if you're the captain of a ship. I mean, throw some love at it. I mean, Jack Sparrow loved the Black Pearl so much he had it resurrected from the ocean bottom by Davy Jones.
There you go.
I'm just saying. So anyway, any last thoughts?
I mean, these. I mean, as we said before, these are iconic. Even just the shape of like the wedge shape of the Star Destroyer, just iconic ships, and I don't really know anything else to say about it, except for what are we talking about next week?
Next week, that's going to be an interesting thing, because next week we're not having a new episode. Next week, we record all of our episodes on Mondays, and next Monday happens to be Labor Day here in the United States. So we want to recognize those people who are hard workers, and we want to recognize just how awesome you are by giving you the day off on a Monday. And then, in about a month, we'll recognize Columbus Day.
Or Leif Erikson Day.
What? Leif Erikson Day. I love that. He's not the Swedish chef, man.
I think we just alienated maybe 1% of our listener base. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know who's listening that's Swedish and listens to our show.
I haven't met a single Swedish person who listens to our show, but that's okay.
I haven't met a single Swedish person.
Really? Yeah.
Not that I know of.
I know one person who's Swedish. He was a law enforcement officer here in Hanford. His name was Per Oberland. Really cool guy. He was a crazy Viking.
All right. Well, on that note, Garrett, why don't you tell us where they can find you at?
Well, before I talk about myself, I want to talk about Brian. We got to make sure that he's promoted as much as possible, even when he's not able to be here. You can connect with Brian on Facebook at the Sith Library and Archives, where they have a lovingly curated collection of Sith and dark side and sometimes Imperial content from all across the galaxy. You can also connect with him on Instagram at Corrosis. That is his official Sith name. And I don't know how active he is on Instagram, but those are the ways to connect with him. He is frequently posting as Darth Corrosis on the Sith Library. As for me, you guys can connect with me on Instagram and X at GKJ_publishing, where I talk about my books, The Archives of the Zinc Rain, as well as my newest title, Midnight Playground, which is a collected anthology of original short stories. I am also on, I have a show on YouTube called The Right Way, where we talk book recommendations, author interviews, and creative writing tips. I'm currently working on preparing season 8, and that's going to be launching on October 4th. And then I also participate in another show on Feast of Fandoms, which is called Snackame, where we eat snacks and we talk anime.
All right. As for us right here, you can get a hold of us if you wish to through our email. That is warthestars1@gmail.com. You can also get a hold of us through all our social media. That is Instagram, X, and YouTube, and Blue Sky at warthestars77. Check us out on all of that stuff right there. If you want to support the show, you can do so a couple ways. One is Ko-fi.com. That is ko-fi.com/War the Stars, or go to spreadshirt.com/shop and search for War of the Stars to check out all of the merch there. As Garrett mentioned, we are a proud member of Feast of Fandoms. Check out all the shows of Feast of Fandoms. MCU Mondays, Captain's Log is Lightsabers, of course, War of the Stars, Cantina Happy Hour, Snackame, and the Geek Gauntlet. So yeah, check out all those shows. A lot of shows from all different fandoms, not just Star Wars, but we go across the gamut when it comes to geeky fandoms. That will about do it for this week. Check us out next week. Or no, do not check us out next week, because we will not be here. No episode next week for the holiday. But always remember, this is not just my Star Wars. This is not just your Star Wars. This is our Star Wars. Until next time, may the Force be with you.